MAGFest 2024, the good, the bad, and the ugly. MAGFest was a music and gaming festival held from January 18th through the 21st, 2024 at the Gaylord National Resort and Convention Center in National Harbor, Maryland. Let's see how they did. For the good, the convention was a sellout this year. They sold out of badges even before the convention started, which I think is a good thing because it's showing the success MAGFest is having. The registration staff again this year were excellent. They got you in, they got you out. Even when it first opened and it was crowded, MAGFest has one of the most efficient registration systems I've ever seen at a convention. They do great work. The pickup of the pre-order merch packages was very, very efficient again this year. You walked in, you showed them your badge, they scanned it, they handed you your merch, and you were good. This year, the merchandise booth seemed to be vastly improved. Other years, lines would be extensive throughout most of the convention. This year, the only day they seemed to have a lot of lines was on Thursday. It also seems that the amount of merchandise they ordered was improved this year, as they did not sell out of most items like they did other years, even though MAGFest had serious attendance. It's actually a major improvement that you could still pick up merch throughout almost the entire convention. The swag is one of the coolest things you can pick up at MAGFest. It has various games and tools on it, and it's worth every dollar. It lights up. It's just so cool. I love the pinball selection down in the arcade. While for some people these machines might not be rare, for people like me, these are cool machines to see and play and get to experience different ones every year. The Potomac District Cafe and Market, while it did have long lines this year, did offer some pretty nice quick grab items, various other drinks and beverages, and yeah, you did have to wait, but honestly it was better than walking outside this year. My friends love the unconventional indie games MAGFest offered this year, such as this one here where to play it you had to stand under a hat. There was a lot of games with a lot of different mechanics, and it freshens things up during the con when maybe you need a break, maybe you want to see something different, and for them they really, really loved it. For the bad, what was absolutely terrible was Nando's this year. Nando's sucked. They did not do good work this year. It seems like they were unprepared for MAGFest. Wednesday and Thursday were particularly bad. On Wednesday, something happened in the kitchen later in the day that absolutely backed everything up. I stood there waiting an hour for the food we ordered, which I understand. I have patience with that. That can happen. Thursday was much worse. On Thursday, we went a little bit later to avoid the crowd. We had all ordered. Basically, two of us got our food. One person got their food a little bit later. One of the people at our table had to wait 35 minutes for an order at Nando's. Something happened that the staff was not discussing why this food was not arriving. In fact, the 35 minutes was so long the restaurant had closed before the order arrived. The manager then started walking around to other tables asking them to finish up, giving them 10 minutes. We were headed towards a problem, but thankfully my friend finished his meal in time because if the manager would have came over and asked him to leave before being finished, we would have had words. There would have been problems, and it would have not gone well for the manager. Nando's was not prepared for the first days of MAGFest this year, and now the good news was they were better later in the weekend, but still that was unacceptable how bad Nando's was, especially on Thursday. For the ugly, what should have been better? The hotel lottery is kind of a mess. I don't know how to fix it. There's just so much demand to go to MAGFest, and it kind of sucks because you almost have to treat every MAGFest like you won't be going to the next one because the lottery could potentially screw you out of going to MAGFest. That's just the way things are, and it is what it is. The main stage band choices were odd this year. There were some bands, it feels like MAGFest did not watch videos of them performing, because there was definitely some bands not ready for prime time this year. Now, consequently, ones we saw that were good, Glorified Magnified was weird but fun, Crash Faster was a surprisingly good band, Cam Steady was a big surprise, they were really, really good, and of course the Proto Men were excellent. I think something MAGFest does need to look at the main stage is cutting back on the amount of just instrumental bands and going with more bands that do vocals. It seems like those bands tend to do better, except like in the case of Bit Brigade. That you really don't need a vocal there. That's just a cool band. But a lot of the smaller instrumental-only bands were kind of boring and weren't very good. A lot of the bands had tech problems and MAGFest needs to look into it. It seems like whatever's going on, the equipment is not working with whatever MAGFest has there, and it's multiple bands, and it pushes the schedule back, and a lot of bands don't cut their sets short even when there's a late start. So I think a combination of MAGFest maybe doing better tech work, along with them adjusting the schedule to possibly put more buffer time between concerts, is going to be something they have to look at this year. This is the one where I'm a bad guy. I wish the community orchestra did not start playing at 9:30 in the morning. They were very, very loud in the atrium. I did not enjoy it. I think a 10 a.m. start time is really, really fair, especially on Saturday. A 10 a.m. is a fair start time. People are mostly up by then, but just any time before that, I think it's unpleasant, and I just did not like it. The machine failures in the arcade this year were very, very noticeable, especially in the older machines. Yes, I understand a lot of that is donated, but it seems like, especially this year, a lot of machines were broken right after the convention started and never recovered, or some that might have been recovered later broke again. I do wonder if it's time for MAGFest to bring in more contracted machines, or perhaps more contracted repair personnel during the event. It's kind of sad to say that, but just a lot of machines were down this year. Some sort of tournament was going on Saturday that just caused the pinball section in the arcade to be absolutely depleted because they removed a lot of good functional machines. If every pinball machine was working before these machines were removed, it would have been fine. Due to these machines being removed and the amount of pinball machines that were broken, the quality of the pinball machines available on Saturday was severely degraded, and that did not work. Saturday's content got too specific and too industry. They needed some more fan panels in there to kind of loosen it up, give people other options. If it would have just been me feeling this way, I probably wouldn't have brought it up, but my entire room was kind of the same way. We had some people sitting up in the room watching football games instead of being on the floor attending panels, which isn't a great thing for the con. Overall, I thought MAGFest had a reasonably good year. I do feel the hotel lottery situation causes a lack of stability in knowing if you can attend the next year. I feel there are questions surrounding the band selections and arcade machine options that really do need to be looked at this year. I think they missed on a few areas there this year. Another question I'd like to raise is it time to expand the Merchants Hall? Yes, where would you do it? That, I think, would be the biggest question, but it might be time to look at that Merchants Hall to get more booths in there. What's my final grade? Now, I'm changing my grading scale, starting with MAGFest. I'm adding a God tier, along with the usual A, B, C, D, and F grades. Where'd MAGFest fall this year? I'm giving the convention a B, and I think that's a fair grade. I think MAGFest did good work in some areas, but in others, there's definitely room for improvement this year. And just the lack of stability of knowing it's easy to attend this con year after year causes me to not be able to give it anything higher. Thanks for watching.